Well, hi everyone. Hi everyone. Happy Sunday brunch. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending your Sunday with me. So, before we get started, where's everybody coming from? This is kind of like a virtual brunch. We get together every week. Be curious who's all in the house. How many states, how many countries are being represented? Hi, Marie, Equus 3333. Donna Stevenson, welcome. Thank you for being a member. Hi, Jennifer Cooper. Hi, Gigi Kosman. Hi, Jody Rogers. Welcome. Joanna Burgess. Hi, Vera D. Chico. Hello. Soul School. Welcome. Foggy Ozart. Thank you for helping today. Fillerin. Thank you for helping today. Debbie Brady, thank you so much for being a member and for helping today. Super Queen B is in the house. Thank you so much. Desiree Robato, hi. So how's everyone's Sunday coming along? So we got North Carolina here. We got Grants Pass, Oregon in the house. California in the house. Ooh, London. Now, is that London, Ontario? Is it London, England? I love it all. Minneapolis, woohoo! St. Paul, Good to see you, Deb. Welcome. Maryland in the house, lovely, and Colorado too. Happy Palm Sunday to everyone. If you got to an early mass, I hope it was uplifting and inspiring, and everything you needed it to be. For the resurrection, right? And if you're Jewish, for the coming out of Egypt, right? If it's Passover, but the two themes. I did take my Allegra, so it shouldn't be too bad today. But the two themes are similar, right? We've talked about that. They both have to do with coming out of like being chained, right? So Jesus goes, wrestles with the devil, and then also when he dies, he goes into hell, he releases soul. So there's this idea of going into a kind of state of slavery and then coming out, which is also part of the Passover feast, is this idea that we've come out of Egypt, we've come out of our bondage, we've let go of the old ways. And this is why we clean our homes and we let go of the stuff that held us back, the memories, right? Relationships that don't serve us. Trying to throw out the old wedding pictures, right? Or whatever it is that's holding you back. Hi, Geocosmic Valentine. Good to see you here. So I wanted to give a thank you to the person that sent calling in the one. I lost your, excuse me, your email information, etc. And so I was not able to send you a thank you. Anyway, so thank you. This is a book to help you find your soulmate. So I thank you, whoever sent that to me. I would have sent you a thank you card, but somehow, I don't know. I think what happened is it showed up from Amazon and there was no, if there was a card from you, I couldn't find it. So I was not able to send you a thank you card. So thank you to the person who sent that. I will give it a whirl. Who knows? Maybe it'll help me find a beloved. Is it too late to join HCRV? You can join HCRV anytime you want. If you want credit, you have to go back and watch classes 1 and 2, do the homework, save it, and get everything to me by the end of the quarter. Hi, Philerin. Thank you so much for that $20 donation to the World Kitchen. It's much, oh, yeah, the Global Giving Foundation, excuse me. All right. So now that we've got a couple people here, we can go ahead and get started with the fun. If you haven't had a chance to do so yet, it would be great if you could like and subscribe. That would be awesome. Let's start with some fun, shall we? Would you all like to start with some fun? What is HCRV? Heart-centered remote viewing. We teach remote viewing here. Well, before we get started with the fun, and since we all are together, we really are virtually together having tea, and I want you to know I think about you when it isn't Sunday. I look forward to Sundays. I do know some of your stories. We have spoken, we've emailed, and I appreciate you, and I miss you. I find that I long for Sundays. It breaks up my week in a wonderful way, and it makes me feel really special and loved and accepted for who I am. And I hope we do the same for you. Also, I have to give gratitude to the people who come here and just give of their time. People like Debbie Brady, Desiree Robato, Foggy Ozark, Super Queen Bee, everybody who's just helping out today. Philerin has been very helpful. Candescent Moon. They don't have to do that. They don't have to be moderators, and they choose to do that. And so I really appreciate that. It's just I'm blown away by how kind people have been. All right. Oh, hello, Shar the Empath. So listen, let's start with some fun. It doesn't have to always be serious here. Let's talk about Will Smith, shall we? So I know it's over now, but that's the fun of it, right? Here's the thing I want people to think about. Is Hollywood real? Let's just think about that. Is Hollywood real? Like Will Smith. The topic now is Will Smith. And if you're going to write a script, a Hollywood script about what happened with the infamous slap and Will Smith, is Hollywood so predictable in its screenwriting that you can predict what Will Smith is going to do? So are we psychic? Or have we seen this played out so many times before that Hollywood has gotten old? Right? So the celebrity messes up, right? Something breaks the bubble, the illusion that these people are somehow healthy or better than they're actors. They're actors that have to play this character. They're overpaid actors in some cases. I'm sorry. I mean, listen to that one. Oh, off it went. We had a light being flying around. It lives there. Anyway, so there is something about Hollywood that's very predictable. They always mess up. And then the publicists, they're people that handle them, right? They've got all these people that handle them, then have to clean up the mess. And so what they do is the publicist writes a formal apology and they work it out with the actor and then they release it. It's all been engineered by publicists and writers, etc. So it's predictable. And it's always the same thing. I take 100% responsibility for my behavior. There's no excuse because they know. So we knew he was going to do that. Predictable. We knew that the Academy was going to ban him. He knew the Academy was going to ban him. So we said the Academy, somebody's visiting. The Academy knew they were going to ban him. So what does he do? He does a preemptive strike. He does a formal apology and he resigns from the Academy because if he doesn't do something, he's going to be banned for life. So he does a preemptive strike, which is that he apologizes, takes responsibility, and then resigns before they can ban him for life. And so because he does that extra thing and agrees to go into rehab, now they're only going to ban him for 10 years, right? So think about that. So you go back to the remotes. When I did the meditation, I followed the energy. He's going to be banned. He's going to do a formal apology. He's going to go into rehab. And then somebody's going to get the big interview. So it's been announced that he was banned for 10 years. So they didn't give him life because, because he formally apologized. And it's announced that he's going to rehab. And I predict the person that's going to get the interview will probably be Oprah, because it's usually Oprah. Now, does that make me psychic or just somebody who's so jaded? Hi, Mark. We're talking about Will Smith. Now, am I jaded? Have I just seen this played out so many times before? Anger rehab. Anger management, rehab, PTSD, therapy. Some fancy place in Malibu. So he's got to play cleanup, right? So he plays cleanup, and this is how they play cleanup. So he goes into this PTSD and anger therapy thing for a few weeks. And then whenever they feel that the time is right, he can go ahead and he can do his interview and then slowly rebuild his career. Is anybody at all surprised by how this played itself out based on how these things always play themselves out? Hello, North Dakota. It's the classic script. All right. So now we can all sit back and wait who's going to get the interview after he comes out of rehab. Okay. And then the final prediction I made was that he and his wife, Jada, will get a divorce. And the reason why I made that prediction was because usually in Hollywood, you can cover up your freak. You can cover up the fact that you're a little bit crazy, or you can kind of justify the insanity, the gaslighting. You can be pulled into the craziness and say, well, if it works for them. But when something like this happens and two people have to be faced with the objective fact that they're behaving in a repulsive manner, then they start to see just how repulsive their relationship is. That's a pretty good indication that the marriage will probably end. So because they're now faced with the whole entire world saying, you know, have you looked at your marriage? It's rather repulsive, how this whole dynamic. Like there's so many people saying that, it may shake them out of it and say, you know, what are we trying to prove? This really is a toxic relationship. We really need to call it quits. So I'm going to go ahead and predict that they get a divorce. That's my next prediction. So those are all of them. That he would be banned, that he would quit, that he would try to get that so they wouldn't make it permanent, that he would go into rehab, that Oprah would interview him, and then he would get a divorce. Okay. Sound good? All right. So the next bit of remote viewing that we're going to be talking about involves another reader. Oh my God, it involves another reader. Somebody really special. And that someone really special who I love is Cash Peters. And I have to say, I really loved the last video that Cash did. And I wanted to give a shout out to him because he was talking about the idea that in education, we learn critical thought, and how this channel was kind of started as a joke. a few years ago, right? We've talked about the fact that there's fake news, that you had political pundits that were getting paid scale $500 or whatever to sit around and talk about who they thought the president was going to be. Anybody could come up and they could give their opinion. So I thought, what the heck? I'll throw cards and I'll give my opinion. And so in a way, there's a kind of humor that we can all laugh about this process, that everybody is the expert, everybody is talking politics. And what Cash Peters was talking about in his video is the fact that we are beginning to lose good quality education in this country and the ability of critical thought. And it must be really terrifying to be a teacher right now. Can people look at news critically and say, where are you getting your data? Why is this reliable news? Am I capable of critical thought? And Cash was also talking about homeschooling. Homeschooling can sometimes be far better than public schooling. I mean, there are some states that are so bankrupted, you have no choice to homeschool because your kids literally can't get a textbook in some areas. But in some cases, it's been encouraged in order to narrow people's minds and limits people's capacity to learn vital critical thought, and that becomes a threat to our democracy. And so as I was sitting in this, first I watched Cash's video, and I thought, wow, this is one of the most powerful things I've ever seen Cash produce. And then I did a remote. And as I fell into the remote, I found myself in the education crisis that is currently taking place in the United States. And that is where Americans owe about $1 trillion in student loan debt, even though we didn't borrow $1 trillion. It has to do with compounded student loan debt. So they're making compounded interest. They're making a profit off of poor students, and that becomes the issue. So say you borrow $50 and you're not earning enough on your wages to pay more than $50 a month, but you're doing your best to pay off your $50,000 BA because education is important. And so that's why you went and got the BA. And so now you're earning $14, $15 an hour as a Starbucks barista with that art degree. Right? So education becomes unachievable. Student debt, the government makes a profit off the poor. So you borrowed $50,000 to get your degree from the University of Washington or wherever. You pay $50 or $100 a month because you're earning minimum wage as a barista. You don't have computer skills because you're an artist, right? So then what happens? You pay for 20, 30 years, and then at the end of it, you owe $100,000 and you've given the government $20,000, but you borrowed $50K, right? So that's the problem with the compounded student loan debt. And it reflects a bigger problem that's happening in the United States. It's also happening in Britain. It's happening in Europe. It's happening all over the world, which is that we have gone to war against critical thought in education, and it does not bode well for the future of democracy. So it's just something to be very, very mindful of, that we must employ a critical thought in everything. I love when people call me out on this channel, as long as you're polite, and then say, that's wrong, go back and check your data. And then I have to say, you know what, I got it wrong. It's okay to help people become better, whether it's my English, which is, I don't speak the best English sometimes. It's okay if it's done in a productive way, but we always want to encourage education and critical thought because it's so vital to our education. And so when you're going forward, someone had asked me if I could go forward to the future of the United States 5 years from now. This is what I see. We must cling to education and literacy, and we must do everything we can to make education accessible to all Americans, because our democracy and way of life is threatened if we don't. And on that note, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more relief, and they're going to probably start cutting the interest to make it so, like, if you borrowed $50,000, you're going to have to pay a lot, you're not going to be stuck having to pay 150,000. So I just felt like a lot would start happening if you do own student loan debt. Also, I think a lot of forgiveness is going to start happening in that area, particularly for seniors. And the reason is because we are starting to see very clearly, objectively, that being at war with education is going to destroy this country. We'd better be on board with supporting education. And this is going to be in the next coming years, in the next 5 years, this country will begin to embrace academia and education, and we will make a way for it because it is so vital. That's the first remote. Did anyone have any questions about the first remote? Okay, so good things ahead for education. We all have to push for it. We all have to demand it from our country, and we all have to be very clear about why we demand it. We have a lot of remotes to go through. Second remote has to do with, again, when I was standing back and I was doing my meditation, I was thinking about the hive mind that you and I and everybody that's having brunch today, we're all influencing one another to the best of our ability. We want to be our best self. What can I do in this lifetime, like the prayers I did this morning, right, to help everybody attain enlightenment, right? So we're all here on the same page. We all have to do our best to, this world can be a joyful place. We have to create our heaven on earth and then invite others to join us. So we have to think in terms of the hive mind. So what is good for the hive is ultimately good for all of us. And this means that we have to begin to address dysfunction in the hive early on. And this is connected to education. So they were talking a lot. One of the things that I've been seeing a lot in my meditation is juvenile halls and military schools for children who have separation anxiety, usually because they've been taken away from their mother, and how it results in a psychopathy. And as I was meditating on this, I realized that Putin had been taken from his mother and father at a young age. I believe he had gone into some kind of military schooling, which can be rough and abusive, and there's no comfort, no love. And then it becomes like a prison for children that seems to harden this psychosis. And then when you go into the energy of Trump, again, mother is ill, goes to the hospital. He grows up without her. He sees her nearly bleed to death in front of him. He's traumatized. He winds up with mental dysfunction. He gets sent to a military school, just like Putin. And both of them wind up in this juvenile detention or juvenile military environment, which fosters violence, dysfunction, and dog on dog in order to survive. So what it speaks to is that our hive, this collective hive of beings that is one mind, the hive is disturbed. And so if we want to stop producing psychopaths, we have to stop looking at how we are treating our children, particularly we need to nip it in the bud, these kinds of early traumas and dysfunction. Instead, they said trauma should be dealt with directly and immediately, rather than just stuffing children into these juvenile halls, delinquent halls, etc., which foster violence and psychosis. We have a vested interest in ensuring that everyone is happy and that they can contribute to the common good of the planet, the common good of others. Consequently, if we want to attain utopia in this lifetime, we must engage in early intervention in trauma to reduce problems down the line. And when we can stand back and see that objectively, there is a trauma here. We must, as a hive, come together and address the trauma immediately so that we don't have to deal with somebody like a Trump or a Putin 30, 40, 50 years down the line. So that's the second remote if people want to open up the floor and talk about it, and how it's connected to our assault on education in the United States and how it's all connected. And gratitude to Cash Peters for helping with that. with his inspiring that. Hello. My fairy has been really active today, and I don't really know why, but I'm cool with it. We've got a fairy, a light being flying around. What does it look like? It's transparent and it's white, and I can see through it. And it's floating around, and it's not a fly, and it's not a piece of cotton or anything. It's a light. It's a flying light. I'm a scientist. I don't understand. I accept it. And I don't know what it is. But it's here, and it's not coming from there. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's, I don't know. Okay, so I've been asked if I could do a little bit more. I have a member. I'm sorry. I need to say thank you to this person. Hi, Rachel White. Good to see you, and welcome to Fairies and Angels. Is everybody having fun today? Is everybody enjoying today's brunch? Yeah? Awesome. Okay, so the next thing we're talking about today has to do with, people have asked me if I could talk a little bit more about remote views in other parts of the world. So we want to talk about what's going on in France right now. They're having a runoff on the election, and it looks like Emmanuel Macron is going up against Marine Le Pen. All right. Does anybody know this? Does anybody know about this? So a lot of people are frustrated by hyperinflation that's taking place in France. You're having fun with us today. A lot of us, what's happening in France right now is that there's a lot of hyperinflation taking place, and a lot of it's being blamed on Emmanuel Macron. They also feel that he's just overall not handled things. They have a housing shortage in France, hyperinflation, etc. Now, does anyone know anything about Marine Le Pen? So I think it was her mother was supported by Putin. Now, this is Marine, I believe her name is. She is now trying to come into power. So there's a concern here that she could win, and that could be very, very bad. So when I went into the energy, I basically said, okay, to the universe, I would like Emmanuel Macron to be reelected. What do I have to do to make it happen? Say I'm running his campaign. And here's what I heard back from my spirit guides. The French don't like to always run their campaign the way Americans run campaigns. But if Emmanuel Macron wants to win, if anyone in Macron's who's running, helping him run his campaign, here's a message to Macron. We get that they don't always like to run I have no idea what I'm saying. This is just the message. You don't want to run your campaign the way we do in America. Maybe you don't want it to be as bloody and gruesome and grotesque as politics have become here in the United States, or maybe it already has become grotesque in France. But basically, when I sat in Marine Le Pen's energy, I felt nausea, and I felt hollow and repulsed. And as I sat in that energy, I kept seeing the massacre in Busha. The bodies that are going to be collected in Mariupol. And basically the message from Spirit was that the best way for him to win the campaign is for him to hit her hard with her allegiance to Nazis, fascism, and Putin and what happened, and graphic images of the massacres in the Ukraine, and then confront her repeatedly about her relationship with Putin. If she does this and show a connection between her, the Nazis, the genocides in Ukraine, while it could be a really tasteless, gruesome campaign, it will allow him to win the election. So that's what they're saying. I would think that would be obvious, but evidently it's like, oh, you're going to run it like an American campaign. But that is what they need. That is how graphic and gruesome it has to be if they really want him to. They have to show that she basically is the mindset of what's happening in Ukraine, complete with pictures, photographs, and and along with dialogue and relationship between her mother and Putin, and how they were lovey-dovey, and how Putin helped pay for this, and just over and over and over again, and just keep hitting them with that imagery over and over and over again, will seal the election for Macron. That's basically what Spirit is saying. All's fair in love and war, right? That's what I saw. Okay, so we have hit the half-hour mark, and I think Steve Bannon needs a shower. I think it's time for us to do the Empath Prayer and give everybody a collective message from Spirit, right? Yeah, are we ready for a message, to get a message from Spirit for your group reading? Yeah. Yes, Empath Prayer and group reading. Cosmic's funny. All right, so let's go ahead. We'll do the Empath Prayer. You can say it with me if you like. The more the merrier. Maybe the fairy will come again. Fairy's been really active today. Okay. All right, I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together, collectively, we say, Amen. Oh, Cash, I know I've seen Cash has a lot of orbs. Maybe Cash sent me an orb. That would be cool. It's been really active today. I saw it flying all over the place. You guys can go back and look if you missed. Oh, cool. Well, it doesn't seem to be dangerous, whatever it is. It has little tiny wings. It's not an insect. I don't know what it is. It's an angel. You say it's an angel, right? Okay, where we are at right now. Oops. I'm having a problem with my cards. Hold on a second. Let me get myself a little bit better organized. I don't know what. It's a fairy. We don't know what it is. It was sitting on my crotch and then it came up and I don't know what it is. It's an orb. Nobody knows what they are. But it's having fun with us today. I did do an extended meditation prayer work today, so maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But it's having fun with us, whatever it is. Okay, so where we're at right now, good for you, people. Nice cards for the community today. What you're entering into is a time of the Four of Wands. Four of Wands is the time of April in the 4th month because I read wands as months. It's also the time of springtime when you're building new projects, new ideas, and new relationships in the time of April. And again here, 7 of Wands in the base of the matter. Standing on high, building something that you can believe in, taking the high road. So some of you are starting some really positive projects for yourselves. Yes, Mila's out like a light. Where you are at right now, many of you have the opportunity to start new businesses. And if it's not business you're interested in, then it will be the mystical arts, because an aspect of the Queen of Pentacles is she looks for that which is hidden. So this could be somebody who's interested in the mystical arts, but many of you are getting involved in banking, investing, finances, new businesses. Look at this. 6 of Pentacles, which is balancing out your coin. Good, I don't know why. I know we have hyperinflation happening. I know all of that stuff is happening, but for whatever reason, people's coin is great. I don't know why. What is above? Feeling defensive in your place. So, many of us, we've really been hiding away a lot because of COVID and everything else. The 9 of Wands is, holed up and almost like afraid to go to the outside world. And then what we sit in is 6 of Cups, which is a desire to go back into the garden, to get back out there in the world. What we're coming out of is 10 of Swords. This was a rough couple years between Trump, having people we know and love dying, getting sick. You got to admit, this has been a rough couple of years. Look at what we're coming out of. And what we're headed into, strength. You learned some things about yourself, despite the fact that this was the worst 5, 6, 7 years that you can't imagine how I get how crappy it was. I got a divorce. I had to live on rice and beans because to start my business, you name it, I went through it over the last 10 years. But look at that. You've got this beautiful strength card coming in for you in the near future. So one of the positive things here is that a lot of you are really committed to your health. And a lot of you really came out of the last couple of years much stronger than before. And look at that beautiful sun. This is a determination on your part that, gosh darn it, you're going to be happy. Today's going to be better than yesterday because you've decided it. You're going to fill your world with the things that bring you joy because you are morally obligated to be happy and to help others become happy. Happy bees. We want to help happy hive. 7th house comes the sun. Now is the time to be happy. Build your heaven on earth now and share it with others. Others in relationship with you are grieving their losses. For example, right now we're raising money for what's happening in the Ukraine. So others could be suffering. You see the suffering of others. So we have to take our light and be as joyful as we can and be grateful for the good life we have. Those who have passed over, the ghost, the hungry ghost. Why are they called hungry ghost? Because they want what you and I have, to be alive again, right? So to be alive is a wonderful thing, even when it's difficult. And it's something you never want to throw away. You never want to take it for granted. And you always want to live life to the best of your ability, particularly for those who cannot, right? So we see a lot of grieving around us, the hope and the fear, death, transformation, that things will be too late. Time to take more risk in your life, more calculated risk, so that you can go out and have more adventures. Many of you are going to start traveling. You can do it affordably and frugally, and you should do it. Stop making excuses. I see the sun coming out for you, and I see more travel for you, and I see you building things of significance that you can be proud of. Now's the time to get out there. Knight of Rods, travel, the sun, inheritance, developing connections, creating new family where old family is gone. You create, by the way, I see pilgrims for many of you traveling. Many of you could even become nomadic. The pilgrim comes to you, final outcome. Great travel cards, great spiritual cards, great cards for taking risk in life, great for entrepreneurs, great if you're working on a diet or committed to a new health regimen with that nice health card coming into sixth position, which would indicate in the near future you're really going to start seeing the fruits of your labor if you are focusing on improving your health. Well, what do you think about that? That's cool. The happiness trap, yes. Buddhism talks about that. You know, you have two types of happiness. You have happiness that you get because you get to eat something like whipped, like an eclair or something like that. That's what we call a transient happiness in Buddhism. And then you have like a profound inner sense of peace without suffering, which is kind of a spiritual happiness, which exists in good times and bad. So in Buddhism, they talk about the difference between temporary happiness and what it is to have profound health, well-being, that type of happiness. Slightly different. Okay, so whenever I get the order and I get some questions thrown my way, we can blitz away. Hi, Joel. Good to see you here. Hi, Greeter TK. We got the blitz away order. Let's see if we've got any questions. Oh, did I have a question? I had a couple questions coming in that I think I wanted. Oh, yeah. The first question, there were a couple I wanted to do on my own, but I want to just check on the election between Emmanuel Macron and Marine Le Pen. I just want to see if she's going to win because I'm very nervous because that imagery, they were basically saying that he has to just go for the jugular in this campaign with her. He's got to just basically be as brutal as possible because if he doesn't, her and her family's relationship with Putin is very destabilizing for Europe. So let's see about Macron and Le Pen. And thank you everyone who's donated to the charity today to help for Ukraine. It's very appreciative. Very much appreciated. Le Pen is only down a couple of points now. People are getting really nervous. She just needs liberals to stay home and not vote for him. There's a concern here. Yep. I don't know what happened to my tissue. Oh, take this. I don't know why governments cannot get dark money out of politics, because based on what I see here, France is having a dark money problem, and it's also possible that the election is being rigged in support of Putin. And that's got me very concerned about what's happening in France. And I really hope that this is kind of like a warning to people that France is having election integrity problems. And I think Le Pen is basically Putin's person. You can see here the devil is the base of the matter. And then Two of Pentacles, which is shady money. So we have somebody juggling coins, trickster, money from questionable sources, the devil. That's not good. It's not good for France. Justice. So the courts could be involved in France with some kind of questionable behavior regarding voting, corruption, money corruption in the election. Defending the high road over the justice. What is above the Empress? What they're sitting in, Ace of Swords. So France is under attack by a foreign government. That's basically, they're under attack by Russia. And then they're sitting in the Ace of Swords it's war. This is looking like a puppet. The pen. It's a jobs thing. She's basically promising it has to do with jobs, and it has to do with the hyperinflation. That's what she is appealing to. It's false promises from Le Pen. They're trying to dig more information on her. Yeah, this is Putin. She's Putin's person. Hopes and fears, hanging it up. The final outcome, judgment. It's very dangerous. It's very, 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 very dangerous what's happening, because this is the time of judgment for France, and they could find themselves in a situation where the Empress, Russia is right on top of them, and they're at war and they don't realize it. And they are dealing with fake news, and they're dealing with bots, and look at how under attack they are. Look at that. This is the con artist who, with the coin, tricking with the money, and the devil over France. They have to decide. And this is looking very scary. Kind of like when we didn't think Trump was going to win. Look at that grief. Remember, we didn't think Trump was going to win? You could get a shock win of Le Pen with these types of cards. There's something here potentially. There's death over Putin. Something's going to happen. Putin's going to be removed. Hopes and fears, the Knight of Rods. And then the final outcome, a new beginning, judgment. It's very, very scary. They're really going to have to go after her in a really, really big way, because she's definitely gaining support. And I did not like that dark money. Those cards really looked like dark money to me, didn't they? I don't know if anybody else interpreted it differently, but Devil with the Two of Pentacles, the coin juggler. And then I see Putin as the King of Swords. So, which was in the 8th house. So he was really battling like a Putin lackey is what it looked like. Isn't that crazy? The other thing I want to do is are the Chechen soldiers going to be stopped from committing atrocities in the Ukraine? Yes, that came out. Now it's starting to come out. Because when I went into the energy, there was something about the killers that was not the same as the conscripted. The first guys that went there that were like, well, how the hell did we get here? This was not that energy. These were seasoned, brutal, violent people who did this. I thought this is not the same. So let's take a look at the Chechen Fighters and the Wagner Group as well, which are basically foreign fighters that come in to terrorize. Because you went into that energy, and the people who did that wanted you to know they were there. It was like Bosnia. We've been here, and we are coming back. It was that kind of an energy. So yes, it could have. Yes, some of them are Russians. That's true. There are Russians participating, but what's changed is that the command is egging them on. So when you have new command that's violent and aggressive and saying kill them all, then that's kind of encouraging this. It's a new kind of attack that's just very strange. I'm going to include the Wagner Group in this. Okay, so they were paid. It was paid mercenaries. They were given money. The money. They were paid to come in. They were given cash, some of them. They were just given bundles of cash. You're given a bunch of money and you're told this plane is taking you here. You're going here, and then this military plane is taking you here. It's that kind of thing. In came the money, and then they came in and they built their fortresses. This is building a fortress. And then we have the heartbreak. And now we're entering into the time of the sun. So it feels to me like they will be prosecuted, that these groups will become banned internationally. They're going to have to adhere to the same laws as any other military. They can't just go and do whatever they want, and they're going to be arrested, they're going to be charged, and they're going to be held accountable in international courts, and that's inevitable. You can see here comes the prison. So not everybody in Russia and not everybody who's in a military position with Putin agrees with everything that Putin's doing. And so you have informants, very good informants, that know precisely what the military is doing in Ukraine and is telling everything to the Americans. So that's why Putin doesn't feel safe and thinks he's going to be murdered, because we know everything, which means that his beloved cabinet has turned on him, which means that they're now not only working actively against him in Russia, but they're probably a threat to his safety. So that's where we find ourselves. That's why he's running around arresting people, and he has a new military person in power, because he honestly doesn't know who the moles are. But we also know that there are people in the Russian military that are actively sabotaging the military campaign. And so we have here the lovers coming in over the enemies. So somebody that can be a spy card if you're talking about war, who plays both sides. And then you have the Chariot moving in, which leads me to think that the Russians are probably going to be pushed back. The weird thing is that there's trouble getting the money to the mercenaries. There's something about possibly foreign banks and foreign governments blocking the way that Putin can do business, including hiring his mercenaries. There's something about us controlling his coin, even to the extent where he won't even have access to it to pay people. Wow. So I would say that they're being pushed back, and they'll be probably be driven out. So I would not be surprised if they pulled him out of Crimea. So let's take a look at Crimea. and the Donbass. Oh, it's spelled it cream. Crime. Yeah. Autocorrect. I don't know how to spell Donbass. I apologize. Okay, let's see about whether or not they're going to push them out of Crimea. And I think Odessa, it goes back to when you put yourself in Putin's shoes. He said, "I want Ukraine. Why do I want Ukraine? I want Odessa. I want to control the ports, the importing, the exporting, the trade." So now he's hunkering down. He wants to take that port. So I want to see if they're going to continue on to try to push them out of Crimea, what's going to be happening if they're going to be able to take Odessa, because boy, it's all about that, isn't it? It's all about that area. So let's take a look. Oh, did I spell it right? Oh, N. Oh, well. All right, Crimea. What's happening with Russia and Crimea? I'll just do 4 cards so we can keep going. Because I don't see us stopping. I don't see the West stopping. Russia wants financial guarantees that they're not going. It's about it always comes out like that. You can see the peace offers, and then you can see payment coin, and then passage. You can see that little passage there. That's what I focus on, the Ace of Pentacles with the passage. He wants to control the passage. Many dead and much grieving. So this could go on until summer. We're going to have to drive him out because he's not going to stop until he wants control of the port, and he's not going to stop until he gets the port. So we're going to have to literally push him physically out of there. You can see here negotiations going till summertime. Negotiations, summer, offers being rejected, and then he wants money. 4 of Cups, and then many dead, and then world involvement. And then here it is, over the grief, we push forward the world. This is why I think it's looking a lot like World War III, but not quite how we expected it, in the sense that if you go back to the cards we had last week, we had the Knight of Swords, and we had the World card, which was anger, violence, and war, and the world. So the world is at war in the sense that the world is supplying the weapons that are pushing the Russians back. So I think that they'll continue to push on until they take everything. I think Putin's going to be removed by his own people. Well, this is the thing, Jen 007, is that I never look at these things, right? But we have to look at that. We have to look at her past history. This is why you use remote viewing, so you can have access to parts of your brain that can put the pieces together. And then, you have to follow the energy, right? That's what we teach in HCRV. So you follow the energy to her and her mom, which goes back to Putin. And then you follow those cards and you follow the energy, and you're looking at basically bots, and they are basically under attack. And I feel like when I go into this energy that France is very vulnerable to falling under Putin, just like the United States was. And the only way he's going to be able to protect himself is if he gets down and dirty and pretty brutal in his campaign. And he can't pull any punches at this point based on what it looked like when I went into the remote. He has to be as brutal as possible about who's funding her, where the dark money is coming from, and that she's basically a Nazi. If he, it's not fun, but if he does it, he's got to save the Republic. He shouldn't worry about being polite right now. Okay, so John Weber was asking a follow-up question here. He said, what will happen if Putin does not pull back in Ukraine? What will the international community? Is there a trigger that compels NATO to directly intervene? And I think somebody had also wanted to know if Finland, and is it Finland and Sweden are wanting to be NATO. And I know that Sweden has been entering Russian airspace, because I remembered seeing Russian or Swedish planes coming in. I think it was 4 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, and they are going through Russian airspace to get aid into Ukraine. So let's take a look at that and let's see if we can get some information about Sweden and Finland joining NATO. Okay, let's take a look. I think that Putin's going to be arrested and charged for war crimes. I see him in jail. I don't think he's going to get away with it. Either that, I mean, he doesn't seem like the type of person that would commit suicide to me, but I've been wrong in the past. But he hangs it up. You can see Hanged Man, and there's Putin. Putin's not going to be able to take over Ukraine and go after Poland and everything else. This is my card for Zelensky. Zelensky has 100% support from NATO, 100%, and support from the UN. The Queen of Cups, I think she's the head of NATO. Is that correct? Is she the head of the World Bank or NATO? But there's this woman here over him assisting him. I think she might be associated with NATO. Then you have the Page of Swords coming in, which is Archangel Michael in the 4th house above Zelensky. And then this woman, this powerful woman, this healer comes in, this Queen of Cups. Yeah, he's got the strong women coming here. Queen of Rods in the 3rd house, seeks justice absolute. And also, when you get rods, you're getting territorial stuff, because rods are all about territory. It's like Aries, Leo, Sag. My way, boom, boom, pushing back, wanting my territory. Don't come into my space, right? There could be skirmishes possibly going on until August. And then there's a message from that last night. I got basically a message from the Ukrainian church that I went into the remote that Russian soldiers were desecrating the Ukrainian churches and stealing some of the sacraments, some of the icons or some of the sacred objects in the church. And so based on the behavior that the Russians were engaging in when they had gone into the Ukrainian church, and the disrespect and the damaging of icons, windows, etc., it's going to be a long time before the Ukrainian church wants to have anything to do with the Russian Orthodox Church. They really destroyed any chances of creating any kind of unity between those two churches, because when I went into this energy, the churches were being ransacked, and people should be able to go there to pray and to seek safety. And they didn't have safety. Some of them were killed, and property from the church was stolen by some of the Russian soldiers. So what has happened when you go into this remote, and what hasn't really been covered a lot in the press, is that this is a really big deal. Imagine being a priest and feeling like you in the past had a connection with Eastern Orthodox, with the church, whether it was the church in Poland or the church in Russia or other churches, that you share a kind of common heritage. But now we're seeing that there's no respect of this common heritage and that the churches are being destroyed. So you have this huge rift now forming between the Ukrainian church and the Russian church. You see the churches coming in and establishing. They are with Archangel Michael. Michael comes with the church, which is the Ukrainian church. Their heritage, and they're feeling more and more and more that their heritage is separate from Russian heritage. We have our own church, we have our own archangel, our own faith, our own practice, which is very much separate from the Russian church. And I don't think the Russian church, dreaming of expanding to the rest of the world so that the lights of Moscow can shine on the entire world, this was the dream of the church, and Putin was going to help the church do that. And they were going to unite all of the churches under a common Russian church. That's finished now. It'll be a dark day in hell as far as they're concerned before they will allow the Russian church to oversee their church. It's amazing what you get when you go into files like this, when you go into energies like this. Yeah, and they're rebuilding the churches, and people were also urinating in the churches and damaging. They have to repair the churches, coming in and volunteering to repair the churches. Can you believe that? Final outcome. Soldiers are going to be tried, and they're going to claim that they became confused, disoriented, and in the stress and the anxiety of the moment, they just did what their commanding officers told them to do, and that they were confused. It was like they were drunk, they were high. That's going to be their excuse when they're questioned. Seven of Cups, we were confused. It's very shameful for Russia's future. It's a public disgrace for them. And it puts them again in a situation where they're isolated from Europe, and Europe wants them to play. They'll be forced to pay retribution. And here is Russia paying retribution. And the hope and the fear of Russia was they always just wanted to be a part of Europe and to normalize relationships. Page of Cups, which failed. The final outcome over them is they won't be allowed back into any kind of relationship with Europe until they see sober, stable, functioning behavior. And it has to start to look like a working democracy again. They want to see temperance. So no, Europe goes in and Putin goes out. I imagine he'll be charged with war crimes, as some of the soldiers that'll be captured will also be held accountable. It's like they got drunk. It's like they went crazy. You know, it's breaking and looting, and everybody else was doing it, and their commanders was telling them to do so. So 16-year-old girl got raped by some troops that went into, I think it was Busha. So it's the Seven of Cups, right? You're all over the place. You're not all there. So they're saying in the hype and the tension and the crazy and the violence and being told, just kill everybody, and going into churches and dragging people out of the churches. So the priest, that are there to clean up the mess, the parishioners that are there to clean up the mess, this is kind of what it feels like. And this is really a deep part of their spirituality and the faith. And this rift is significant. This spiritual rift that's happening now, it won't soon be recovered. They will not forget this. It's a very deep rift. Okay, so that's what we see. Jeez, what a mess, huh? What a mess. What a mess. What a mess. What a mess. Very sad, isn't it? I also wanted to thank you all. I've been getting a lot of requests through Wizio. For a lot of people who don't know what Wizio is, that is a 5-minute reading, a taped reading. A lot of people don't have time for a 30-minute or a 1-hour reading, or they don't need a 30-minute or a 1-hour reading. They just want a quick one that's inexpensive. And so you can get one taped by me. It will live forever and ever in your email. You can do it through Wizio. You send me the question. It usually takes about 7 days. I've been doing better about the time. And then I will send you a response to your email. If you want to talk to me directly by phone, you can do that by going to tarotwithwhimsy.com and scheduling direct to speak with me. If you're outside the United States, then you just join WhatsApp and then we talk through WhatsApp. So thank you for your support. Okay, so let's do some more blitzes. The French election right now looks too close to call. It's very scary because Le Pen is only 2-3 points below Macron. And basically what the remote said last night was that he was going to have to get down and dirty in his campaign if he wants to win. How can we travel cheaper? It depends on what you want to do. You can get a combined hotel and airfare through Expedia to save money. You can do Airbnb. You can do camping. You can go to Tahiti and you can do camping. I was looking at Tahiti. It's expensive to get there, but they've got Airbnbs and all kinds of things. Macron is up by 5 points today. Good. I was reading 538 because you have a margin of error of 3 points. Oh, Pierre Walker, good to see you. Oh, you got it. Good. I'm glad. I think I sent yours out last night. I'm glad you got it. Glad it was helpful. Okay, so interesting what's happening now with Don Jr. I did get some emails about that, so we will put our attention. We've done a little bit of Europe now. I think let's bring it home a little bit, and I don't want to spend all of our time on the United States, but has anybody heard about what happened with Don Jr.? And emails to Mark Meadows that I believe were dated, was it January 5th? Am I not mistaken about that? Okay, so it would suggest a couple things. What do you think it suggests? An organized coup, and that he was in on it, right? It was November 5th. I thought it was a day or two before January 6th. The riot was January 6th. So I believe it was a couple days before. Oh, it was that early. It was before the election even. Oh my goodness. That is quite bad. So they were prepping for this thing a while because they knew he was going to that might even be worse, right? What do you think? Do you think Don Jr. is finally going to prison? Think we should take a look? I don't know. Let's take a look. I know as much as you do. Thank you, Serafina, for the donation. I miss you guys. I like hanging out with you guys on Saturday. It's fun. Isn't this fun? Does anybody ever make themselves like a really nice brunch when you have brunch with me? Like I usually just do a smoothie. Like I had my smoothie while I was setting up, and now I'm having my tea. Yeah, eat whatever you like. It's brunch. Some people even watch this. They actually go to restaurants and they watch me in the restaurant. I mean, with their phone. Like, do whatever makes you happy. But it's supposed to be like a brunch. Oh, good for you. Pancakes. Yummy, yum, yum. All right, Don Jr., let's take a look. I don't know. I don't know about this kid. God, just what a dysfunctional family. Oh, he's in so much trouble. He's in serious trouble. It's opening with the Knight of Swords, which is like the policeman's card. A judgment. They're going to try and get him to confess. They also think that they can get him to talk. Six of Cups. Come talk to us. They're going to get something on this guy. He's going to go to jail. Look at this. They got the goods. Nine of Pentacles. Ooh, and he's hiding money. He's hiding money because he's afraid something's going to go down. There it is. The feds. Queen of Pentacles. The hidden queen. Keeping secrets. The judgment. How will the judgment go for him? He was just foolish. This guy is not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I'm serious. Foolish. Isn't that what the feds said last time? Isn't that the feds said last time? We can't prosecute this guy. He's too stupid to be a criminal. Right? That's not very nice. Six of Cups. Magician. The feds have the power. He's hiding money. He doesn't want to cooperate. I got to do another clarification because I'm already confused. There's the police again. Oh, people associated with him are going to start talking. Also, they're following the money. There's money. Where the money came from, he did it to himself. He's going to incriminate himself. They're following the money. Gossip. There's the police again. I think he's going to jail. I think he's going to. I've always seen him going to jail. And I think Ivanka's going to jail too. My advice to her, if she is going to jail, is to have your hair pieces removed. You know, you want to remove all of that stuff before jail. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with, I'm being mean. That's what I think. I think she's going to jail. Take your hair pieces out before you go. I know. It's just so terrible. Okay, let's see here. I'm feeling good now. Yes, the Allegra has kicked in, and I feel a little I don't do drugs really, so even Allegra makes me feel a little like, woo, Allegra D. Okay. Joanna Carson, is Merrick Garland going to prosecute anybody for treason on January 6th? Aren't you frustrated? Let's talk about the frustration. What do y'all think about the frustration? Are we frustrated? Are we frustrated? I'm so frustrated. I got to find out. I got to get into Merrick Garland's head, and I have to find out. Oh, Donald Trump's not running for anything. He stole confidential. He's not eligible, right? They're going to make it so he's not eligible. Okay, Merrick Garland, what is going on? Would you please prosecute? When are you going to do some prosecuting? The struggle is real. I can't believe I lived through that happening in my lifetime, that people tried to actually overthrow our government, and the people that engineered it are still not in prison. Geocosmic Valentine, we should try getting into Merrick Garland as an experiment, as an open book in the coming weeks. Okay, so first things first is that Merrick Garland has not one case. He's got so many cases here. He has so many cases. This is the thing you have to realize when you go into this energy, the 10 of Wands. Look at that. Backbreaking. Look at the cases. And then then you've got teams. You've got multiple cases and multiple teams all arguing. Look at all this fighting and load. Look at all these cases. Each wand representing a different major case. So he's pretty busy where he's at right now. More wands building cases. Look at that. Cases everywhere. He needs more help. That's insane. There's the ethos. The Constitution is ruling him. He's a purist. What is above? The Queen of Cups. Somebody has to go through and be the organizer because they do need organization. Queen of Rods is sitting in the third house. That's very good. That's justice absolute. And methodical with the Hierophant crossing. King of Cups, bridge over troubled water, entering into Eight of Cups. They're going to have to decide that right now they're prioritizing what they're letting go of and what they're prosecuting. They have very strong cases. Look at that. A lot of people are not going to trial because they've already pled guilty on lesser charges and they've already worked out agreements with prosecutors. I don't know how people feel about that. If that bothers people, we can talk about it if you want to talk about it. But they're basically saying that they've already gotten plea deals for a number of people that are not going to be going. They're not going to be going to full trial. You can see here. Justice prevails. He's got a strong case. Masters, but look at this. Look at all this work. Can you believe this? Look at that. But look at the Masters coming in. And then his final outcome, Two of Wands. Give him 2 more months before you start to see major prosecution. It is a lot. This is like a hoarder's worth of cases. Final outcome's 2 months. Give him 2 months, right? We read Wands as months. Look at all these experts here. Look at that. Hermit over the Strength card. Over the Justice, the King of Pentacles, which is the G-Man. The Hopes and Fears, 10 of Cups, which is working together with the Mastery, which would be prosecutions in 2 months. It's going to be shocking. There's going to be a major shock that happens over the next 2 months, and major players will be prosecuted. And it'll be multiple people at once. That's the answer. The Tower comes in 2 months. A lot of people. But you can see also that a lot of people, look at all the masters working at it. Look at the scholarship. I liked this. Oh, there are people inside the Justice Department that were trying to be slow or delay or were being passive aggressive. Queen of Cups in the fourth house means that they might have had somebody coming in that was wishy-washy or negotiating, or could have been delays. They may have had to get rid of people and bring in new people that were more committed to the work of the AG. That's what it looked like. All right, I guess I'm going to call it quits because it's already 12:30 and I think some more readers are coming on. Is Linda coming out today? She comes out about 1, right? All right, I guess I'm done. Thank you, everybody, for hanging with me. This was a really interesting brunch today we had, don't you think? This was a good one. Like sometimes I feel like, it was an okay brunch, but today I felt like, it was nice and meaty, right? All right. So if you're trying to get in for a reading, check me on tarotwithwhimsy.com. If you just need a quick reading, you can send me a request on Wizio. All the information is in the description box of this video. Would I consider coming 1 hour earlier on Sundays? No. It's always 11 a.m. All right. Be well, everyone. Take care. Thanks again. And we'll see you next time. Bye. Bye-bye.